This is the second of two tutorials that provide guidance on designing and drafting service-level agreements for cloud and SaaS agreements. There are two basic types of SLAs that are especially useful in cloud and SaaS agreements: SLAs for managing system defects and SLAs for managing system availability, also known as system uptime or system performance. We will examine each of these in more detail. The elements of a system defect SLA are as follows: a defect reporting process, the response to the defect report, the allowable time period to provide a fix, the actual provision of the fix, and an escalation process. An example is shown in the chart. Issues are prioritized according to their importance and impact on the user community. Level 1 issues are generally of low priority, while Level 3 have the highest priority. The time required for acknowledging receipt of the defect report, for the promise to provide a fix, and for providing the actual fix decrease with the higher priority levels. A system performance SLA is usually expressed as the percentage of time the system needs to be available. That percentage is calculated by starting with the total time in a given time period, usually a rolling 30-day period or a rolling 90-day period, often expressed in minutes. Then, the amount of known or planned downtime is subtracted from the total time. Planned downtime is the time set aside for regular system maintenance. The resulting time is known as the baseline system availability. This would be the expected availability if performance is perfect and the SLA is set at 100%. The added cost to achieve this level of performance is almost never justifiable. Instead, most organizations determine the percentage of time they require the system to be available. The more critical the application, the higher the required availability. For extremely critical applications, a system availability of 99.999%, sometimes referred to as 5 nines, is called for. To give you an idea of what that means, if we assumed 18 hours of planned downtime over a 90-day period, system availability of 99.999% means the allowable limit of unplanned downtime is about 2 minutes over that same 90-day period. An availability of 99.9% or 3 nines would mean allowable unplanned downtime of about 2 hours over the same 90 days. The best practices for drafting SLA clauses in EULAs are summarized in the following 7 points. 1. Make sure the parties to the SLA are clearly named with contact points for each party. 2. Ensure the name and description of the service are clearly described and defined. Be sure to give examples for clarification. 3. Define the measurements to be used for all performance standards. Use quantitative measurements wherever possible and include examples. 4. Use clear and enforceable standards of performance. For example, make sure the requisite actions for reporting issues are clear, including who can report them, to whom they can be reported, by what means, and with what required content. 5. Define the performance monitoring process. Will it be by way of regular reports, exception reports, notices of failure to meet performance standards, or some other mechanism? Specify the frequency and form of the reports. Identify the required response in terms of time frame, content, and action. 6. Define the escalation process for failure to meet performance standards. And finally, number 7, make sure the SLA has teeth, that it includes enforceable and painful remedies designed to encourage compliance. Keep in mind that the amount of SLAs should be reasonable. If there are too many, that may be overly burdensome and not financially justified. If there are too few, That may result in an inadequate measurement of performance. Even with the best SLA in place, an additional question to ask is this: what happens if the vendor is unable to perform? For example, if they go out of business, are acquired, or otherwise lose the ability to deliver services. For these reasons, you need to have a contingency plan which might include the following. First, allowing third parties to manage the environment. Second, switching infrastructure. And third, switching the infrastructure and the application. None of these options are simple to create or implement, but having no contingency plan is not a good approach. More in-depth information on service-level agreements for cloud and SaaS can be found on the ESI website, including white papers, video tutorials, and the EULA Best Practices training course. Thank you for viewing this tutorial. Please visit the DoD ESI website for more information and other videos in this series.